Hi everybody, it's Nikki and I'm here to do another video that's my personal experience, not to be used as medical advice. It's kind of just chatter, very general information or general opinion. And really what it's about Suspends, which is kind of what I've been stuck on for the last 2 years of my life. But again, having moved from the 670G to the T-Slim, and having finally made myself give my T-Slim 3 full days to just do whatever it wanted to do with the Suspends. I've found out some really kind of interesting information, again, for myself and my own disease and my own pump. But I thought I would share because it's all ideas, and maybe it's true for you, maybe it's not. Basically what I had noticed, and I'll talk about the 670 for 1 second, and that is that with the 670, for whatever reasons, whether it's because of the sensor or whether it's because of the algorithm, my Suspends had a tendency to be 40 minutes or longer. That's just usually what they were. They were rarely shorter than that. And they were oftentimes up around 2 hours. That's in manual mode. Those Suspends really were really hard on me, and they really were not more beneficial than they were burdensome. And that is because if I didn't happen to catch it, a lot of times what I was left with was just this block of not having gotten the insulin. So I'm kind of guessing at what I need because it doesn't really seem to work out if I've missed 1.1 units and now my sugar's at 300, that what I need is 1.1 units. I mean, it doesn't seem to be that even of an exchange. So a lot of times I'm left guessing, whereas if I had just gotten the 1.1 units, I wouldn't need it, you know. So that's so it was a frustrating experience for me with the 670G with the Suspends. When I got over to the T-Slim, I wanted to override everything. That's how I wanted to handle it. And I wanted to override everything because I'm not going to say, you know, traumatized, but I was nervous every time I saw my pump suspend. I was thinking I better stop it now so that I don't end up at a 300 or even a 200. Like, if I'm happy at 85 and I can't think of a good reason not to be at 85, I don't want to be at a 200 in an hour. So my response was every time I saw it suspend, I would want to override it to make sure I got my insulin. That's how I saw it. Then I got to experimenting with the 670G, and I wrote out a few things I wanted to try with both pumps. And the first one on my list with the T-Slim was to let the Suspends go, let Basal-IQ do it, and see what it does. I was not a fan of the 670G expression, you know, let it do its thing. I was not a fan of that. Let it learn you, let it do its thing. So I didn't like the idea that I was going to let the T-Slim do its thing, even though I wouldn't with the 670. But it kind of is, and I did that with the 670, like I let it. And that's why I was so frustrated with it. And I figured in all fairness, I have to let the T-Slim do it too. And so I did for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, I realized it's really, really very good. The Suspends are really, if it's the algorithm, the sensor, as I said, I'm not sure what it is that is contributing. I'm guessing all of it. Contributing to that, you know, to what Basal-IQ is doing. But that is a fully diverse, array of Suspends. I mean, I have everything from 5 minutes to blocks of 45 minutes. But the vast majority are kind of in and out. And they look like these little stripes that go across. And what it's doing is it's reducing my insulin, but it's not, it's timing itself. I mean, it's basing itself off of my trend, and it's a good trend. It's a good sensor. So basically what it is, I let it go for 3 days, and there were a few things I noticed. I think in 3 days, I do think I had one long suspend overnight, right around the time I get up. I'm not a big fan of those either. And it did mean that my blood sugar rose in the morning to a 200, you know, whatever, my normal coffee stuff, but it was not a normal blood sugar. And that's because that Suspend was behind it. So that's not my favorite thing, but I also understand that that's what all these pumps want to do. And it was the only night that I had a problem with it. I have also noticed that, after my runs, so my friend Thomas at FUD brought this to my attention, and it was a really interesting point, that when your basal rates are off, your suspends can be much longer, and then you can kind of get stuck into that. You can get stuck in that, that area where it's a problem, where you're receiving long suspends and then big rebounds. So basically what he has suggested is when you start to see a lot of those long suspends, consider your basal rate, which is not really possible with the 670G because you see a lot of long suspends, and it's not really because of your basal rates, for other reasons. So in this case, I started to pay attention after my runs, and what I noticed, and even in those 3 days, I noticed that after a long run, I got long suspends, and it was actually good as an indicator that I needed to adjust my basal rate. So I turned my basal down a little bit, and the suspends would shorten, and everything would kind of fall back down into line, or into place. Before my runs, when my basal rate was fine, it was normal, that's when I would get those kind of short, intermittent suspends, and everything was going fine. Another really interesting thing that I found was that when I stopped overriding my suspends with the T-Slim, when I stopped overriding them, I just didn't need to correct as many crashes, which obviously I know everyone's like, of course, that's what it's there for. But it took me a little bit to let it do it and to see it for myself. And now I understand that it's a choice I have, which is really cool. If I want to override all my suspends and eat, then I can do that. If I want to override my suspends and be able to snack on stuff all day long, or have a popcorn at the movies, or stuff that normally I maybe have to pre-bolus for, or if I override everything, I'm getting all that insulin, needed or not, and it means I'm getting some more snacking. If I don't want to be taking in the calories, or if I really don't want to have to snack after I've just eaten a meal, and I let the suspends do their thing, it's not stuck in my head, it means I don't have to snack. And it's a cool choice to have. That's the way I felt like it was the first time I realized that the suspends were not only helpful in hypoglycemia, they were also helpful in kind of a lifestyle, choice. And this is my other friend Eric at FUD, who talks a lot about going heavier basal so that you can eat. This is how that works. If I don't have my suspends in place, then I'm getting a heavier basal and I can eat. If I slow down my basal and I do exactly the basal I need, or the T-Slim slows down my basal, then I get to pre-bolus, and I get to not have to eat all the time, and I have a little bit more control over what I'm putting in my body. But I wanted to say that because it was neat, and I didn't know it, and I've done a lot of thinking about the suspends. At some point, probably not in the 670G, but maybe the next Medtronic, maybe I go back on there and I see what their next product looks like, because I'm curious, how they would handle it. But the last one wasn't my favorite. I didn't need to add that. That was bonus. That was bonus. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Anyway, that's it. That's my suspends. That's my suspend chit chat. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Bye.